Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Council Sessions. It has been far too long, and I'm here with Cyber Ren, my co-host over on the Mandalore podcast. How's it going, Cyber?
That's right. It's going all right, man. Council is back in session. It has been a while.
Back in session, yeah. It's so funny how time goes fast, man. It's
Yeah.
I can't even believe it's almost March already.
Dude, I'm getting older faster than I want.
I know, that's exactly right. Oh, my daughter's got 2 more years and then she graduates high school.
Boy.
That's not okay. But anyway, thanks for everybody for joining us. We are going to get back to doing some of these more often. Me and Hannah are recording some Beyond the Sagas as well. So got a lot of content that we're going to be putting out. But you know, we're sitting here gearing up for the return of Star Wars to the movie theaters with The Mandalorian and Grogu. Yeah. So I kind of figured, and I started thinking of different topics around this part of the timeline, which is, you know, somewhere around 5, 6, 7 years or so after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And in this time period, you've got the remnants of the Empire still lingering around the galaxy. You've got the New Republic trying to build back what they had prior to the Empire, prior to the Clone Wars. You've got Luke out there studying and gaining more knowledge and trying to figure out when he's going to get this new Jedi Order going. And then, of course, you've got the underworld that we've seen a lot of in these Disney Plus series with The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. So, and you've got that world still out there. I mean, you know, because that world saw a lot of loss too, because, you know, Jabba the Hutt was killed.
Yeah.
You got some of these other factions that got killed. You got some of these factions coming back, like Crimson Dawn and things like that. So there's a lot there. But I guess the focus that we were going to talk about a little bit in this episode is we all know already how this thing goes 30 years from now, because the sequel trilogy happens and the First Order comes and pretty much destroys the New Republic, and everything that kind of is built up over these years gets wiped away pretty quickly. So the question that we were kind of wanting to talk about was, you know, what steps did the Republic take in trying to prevent this? And did they, you know, ultimately end up repeating the mistakes that the Old Republic made in falling apart, in a sense, and succumbing to what ended up being the Empire? Now, granted, if you think back to, you know, the Republic days and the rise of the Empire and all that stuff, that obviously had everything to do with the hidden motivations of the Sith. Like, no one knew that was happening really underneath.
Right.
You know, Palpatine was kind of playing that whole game in the shadows, and it you know, he kind of turned everybody against each other without them knowing what was happening, right? Well, you don't really have that right now in this sense. I mean, you kind of do. We end up finding out that, you know, the Final Order gets created far out in the unknown regions. But let's focus on the New Republic and like what is happening, because we don't have a lot of information there with that at this timeline, at this point in the timeline, because all we're really following is Mando and Boba Fett and Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And it's like we're not really seeing how the government yet has been coming back. And there's some books out there a little bit later on, not so much this timeline. You know, you had the Aftermath books, and then you have Bloodline and some of these other ones before The Force Awakens. But anyway, all in all, it's like the New Republic is led by Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma is the Chancellor right now. So you would think somebody that's from the original, from the Clone Wars that saw this thing fall apart originally,
Yeah.
that she would be better prepared to kind of lead the New Republic and not repeat the same mistakes. So,
Right.
I don't know. I know that's a lot right there, Martin, but overall, kind of what's your thought process about, what the New Republic is doing at this point and why they didn't, what could they've done better at to kind of prevent the Empire or the First Order from even coming back?
Yeah. Well, I think my first thought is like there's a lot of years here between this time period and The Force Awakens, like almost 30 years, right? It's like
About 25 years, yeah.
25, 28 years. So there's a massive time gap here that we know nothing about. So everything that we talk about is purely speculation because like you said, there's only been a couple books that have kind of filled in a little bit of the story, but it's basically right after the original trilogy in these next few years. So when you look at that and you try to figure out how did we get from this point to what happens in The Force Awakens, a lot had to have happened. But it seems like, from what we've seen so far, it seems like the New Republic, like they didn't do enough. Like it feels like, I almost feel like they thought, that's it. We killed the Emperor. We destroyed the Empire. We're good. Don't have to worry anymore. It's done. We got rid of the bad guys. Now everything should just settle down and be great. And it seems like they didn't take the, I don't know what you would call it, the foresight into looking ahead to put in preventative measures to stop it from happening again. It just seems like they left it as is. We got rid of the bad guys. That's good enough. And they never took the extra steps. So that's kind of like the overall view that I'm looking at. That, and then of course in this discussion we'll probably break it down a little bit more. But I think overall that's my initial thoughts is it felt like it probably won't happen again. We got rid of the big bad. Nobody could possibly be worse than the Emperor and his Empire and Vader and all that. It's done. We should be okay now. That's my feeling to begin with.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, before we saw or got the sequel trilogy of movies, and all we had at the end of this timeline so far was Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I think all of us as fans thought, it's peace now. It's going to be like 1,000 years of peace again, and
celebrate, woohoo!
It's nothing but partying, and everybody's going to be happy and all that stuff. And there is nothing farther from the truth than actually what happened.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately I'm really. It's funny because Mothma has become one of my favorite characters, especially after what we saw her do in Andor.
Right.
But I gotta tell you, I'm really, as of right now, like I'm really disappointed in her role as Chancellor.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I think there's books or some literature out there that discusses how she got sick and she wasn't really present that much for a while. But I think at this point, because we saw there was a scene in Ahsoka, right, that we saw her in leading the council or leading, I can't remember what that committee was. I think that Hera talked to her about, but she should have been there, and she should have been the strong leader as she was during the rebellion to forge ahead. Now, like always, the Senate does just a reminder to everybody. Once the Empire took over, the Senate was still intact. Like the Emperor didn't dissolve the Senate until right during episode 4. So, there was that scene where Tarkin comes in and says the Emperor has disbanded the Senate. So 19 years, he let the Senate kind of keep fighting each other and squabble, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
He just kind of let things go, even though he was controlling everybody, right? The Imperial Iron Fist.
Yep.
Which is very surprising to me. I was very surprised by how Palpatine kind of let that go. So if you think about it, like, they obviously brought back the Senate because you need your representatives from all the different worlds.
Yeah.
But what does that do? All that causes is more bickering and more fighting.
Yeah. Nothing gets done.
Nothing gets done. More lying and all that stuff. So that's kind of your first problem. You need it, but you needed to kick control of the corruption. And I'm not sure they did that, obviously. And then you always had this. You didn't completely get rid of the Empire. And I think what we're going to come to learn as we watch the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, as we get into whatever is going to be, the next part of the Thrawn battle and things like that, if that's a series or a movie.
Ahsoka season 2, yeah.
Ahsoka season 2, correct.
Yeah.
I think we're going to find out that the New Republic just didn't feel like the Empire, the remnants out there, were a threat. And I mean, no one maybe could guess that Thrawn was going to come back. But not only did he come back, but he's got this whole army with him, right? So
yeah.
I think that's the major thing that I think that the New Republic did wrong, was they took for granted that the Empire was just going to kind of walk away and not put up a fight just because Palpatine was killed.
Well, they become complacent. That's the term. Right? Like, they become complacent, and lazy is another way to put it. Like, they really didn't put in the effort to ensure that the victories they just won are going to last, are going to put things back in place the way they're supposed to. Like, they just
right.
There's a lot going on. Like it, and I see your point when you say you're disappointed, because really, when you step back and look at it, yeah, it is kind of disappointing that leadership didn't take the necessary steps to ensure the safety of the galaxy. But I'm also wondering, while you were talking there, I'm also thinking, like, I wonder if part of it is because everybody saw the result of, what the Emperor did, and everyone was questioning afterwards, like, how did it get to that point? How did we not see this happening and see this coming and be able to prepare for it? Like, the Empire basically decimated everything and took over the galaxy, and Mothma and everybody, they were all there during that. So I'm wondering if whoever's around in the aftermath maybe lacks some trust now in the leaders that they have, like the leaders that survived, like Mothma and like whoever. Like, maybe that's why nothing ever really got done, because the people that were in power, nobody really wanted to give them the chance. Like, you guys didn't see this coming before. Like, why do we want to let you lead us into the future? And maybe there is a lot of squabbling still happening. Like, nobody knew who should take control and fix things afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's good.
Do you know?
What about? What's that?
You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it just feels like there might be a bit of lack of trust there. That
there definitely is, I think.
Yeah.
And then the other side of this, I think we have to talk about is, for what did Obi-Wan say? He said, for 1,000 generations, the Jedi were the guardians of peace in the galaxy.
Right.
So that's one thing you don't have, is you don't have Jedi now to protect the Republic like they did. The Republic governed, and then you had the Jedi that would carry out the peace and the justice in the galaxy. So
kind of like they would almost enforce what the government's laying in place.
Yeah, they would be the mediators, the protectors.
Yeah.
they would go out and settle the squabbles and figure things out. But so does some of this blame actually fall on Luke? Because in order to sustain peace, you probably needed the Jedi again. And we're 5 years in, when we watch The Mandalorian and Luke shows up and he hasn't started training anybody. I mean, Grogu ends up being his first student in a sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's not until a few years later, I think so at this point, I think Ben is I think he's like a 4 or 5 year old. And I think he starts training Ben when he's maybe 10. So he's got another 5 years that he starts taking students on. But that's in that now 10 years have gone by and there's no Jedi in the galaxy, so I get it that maybe it takes a while to build up, but you probably didn't have to do that because it's not like there's not force sensitive people out there. They're not just kids. These kids that were born during the Empire that were force sensitive, they didn't have they didn't have a Jedi Order to come grab them and train them, but they are out there. And, maybe that rule of like they're too old to learn was, sometimes you have to just work with what you got and at least pull in some guys together and, start building this order up so you can lend a hand to the formation of the New Republic.
Yeah, and I see the point you're making, but how much can we lay that blame on Luke, though? Because, I mean, when he met Obi-Wan and Yoda and all that, he was a young adult himself. Like, he didn't start his Jedi training, like Yoda said,
19.
Way too late, much too old.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he not only is he playing catch-up himself, trying to learn everything, I don't think he really truly knew what to do to rebuild stuff. Because doesn't he go out and adventure around the galaxy looking for old artifacts? Like, he's studying. He's learning. He's growing. He's trying to figure things out for himself. So maybe he felt like, I can't build anything up. Like, who am I? Who am I to lead anything? I'm just barely a Jedi Knight myself. Like, I'm trying to figure everything out. So I think that could be part of it, that we could take some of the blame away from him. And also, we're still in the original trilogy era. That's the aftermath of Order 66, when all the Jedi got hunted down, and who knows how many are left. Like, I don't think Luke even knew how to look for another Jedi yet, because he doesn't know. It was like him and Obi-Wan and Yoda. Like, who else was there besides that he knew at the time? I mean, he sensed that Leia had the powers, and we now know through what we've seen that he did start to train her. But
right,
I don't know. I just feel like I don't want to lay a ton of blame on Luke, because I think the position he was in is a pretty forgivable one. Like taking on the Jedi stuff at his age and having to play catch up, and I don't think he knew. I don't think he had the wisdom and the experience yet to be able to pass that on yet, which could lead to why he ended up screwing up with Kylo Ren. Why, like a lot of stuff happened, because I don't think Luke was, I don't know. I don't think he was properly prepared and educated to be able to do something like Yoda might have been able to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, I don't know, I think you can kind of question that at the end of Return of the Jedi, he pretty much passed the ultimate test. Like, he was tempted.
True.
Tried, was basically about to kill his father, and he stopped and nearly sacrificed himself for his dad. And that was a big, proven step for him to becoming a Jedi and to know what it means to not succumb to the dark side.
Right.
So I feel like he was ready. But you're right. Maybe he didn't know what to do or how to do it, and that's what he was doing in going out and finding these. He obviously got the Jedi text eventually, but that was even after. That was years later. But he did go out and find some artifacts and some knowledge and things like that. But I mean, ultimately, he decided when he saw Grogu, right, that he could start training somebody.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it was. Maybe Grogu was the first Force sensitive being that he came across. Besides Ahsoka, obviously.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what made him do that, I guess. I mean, that we don't know that for sure, but that could be the case. That he didn't end up starting to build that temple and think about recruiting anybody until Grogu kind of came in his life.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair.
I mean, I mean, you could also look at it from the other side. It also is, at that point, as far as we know, the only Jedi. So who else is going to do it but him? So should he have taken the reins and going ahead and do it, even though he's lacking the experience, maybe he should have done more than he did. I mean, you could kind of balance it out a little bit in that sense. But yeah, I mean, I love Luke. I don't want to say a lot of this was his fault. I think he had a big part to play. Maybe he didn't do enough, but I can understand the reasoning behind why he maybe didn't succeed where he should have.
Yeah, and I wonder. I would ask too. Why didn't he just set up the temple again on Coruscant, which is where the Jedi was headquartered?
Yeah.
Those buildings weren't destroyed; they were still there. In fact, the Emperor used it as his kind of his office building, or like his throne room. So it's like, why didn't you at least become the guardian of peace in the galaxy? He could have just done it himself for a while until he started training. But he kind of I feel like he kind of left Leia, left the New Republic kind of to figure it out on their own and didn't get involved in helping kind of rebuild. Again, we don't really know those first 4 years that much. Like you said, he trained Leia until she walked away. I think he said he was training for about a year, and then she walked away. So he started doing it, but why didn't he kind of become that representative of the Jedi on Coruscant, with the Senate?
Yeah,
because maybe could that have deterred like some bad people did not do some things that a Jedi is out there,
Yeah.
Because you remember, like, Luke was still kind of a myth, a little bit of like, I mean, he becomes this kind of like myth, almost like Vader was. Does he really exist? Is there somebody out there that's actually like that?
Yeah, because he wasn't part of the Senate. He wasn't part of everything that Leia is. So his face wasn't out there.
No.
Being seen by thousands of people. He was
like the Jedi were in the back in the Republic days before the Clone Wars. It was like the Jedi were very involved, with the Senate and working for the Senate and working with senators and being ambassadors and things like that. So it was like they were out there and people knew about them.
Yeah, but when you get to his time period.
That wouldn't have been hard for Luke to know that, because Mothma would have known that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to not lay some blame, I feel like, on Luke too.
Yeah, you can a little bit for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, because I think there had to have been time for the New Republic to establish kind of a military presence too, right? They didn't really have,
right?
They had just like, I mean, you saw in Return of the Jedi, like that was all of their ships. The rebellion was like all of those ships there fighting.
Yeah,
and they didn't take over the Imperial Navy and start using their Star Destroyers and whatnot. They just decommissioned all of that stuff and started just kind of rebuilding their own. But that takes a lot of time.
A lot of time, a lot of resources. Yeah.
Yeah. So so you didn't have anything really to even go against these Imperial remnants, because you just had X-wings and A-wings and U-wings still. You didn't really have cruisers, big old cruisers again anymore. So I mean, I guess they could have, a lot of their stuff came from Mon Cala. So maybe Mon Cala started rebuilding ships again and, supplying them to the Republic.
Yeah.
We just don't really know that that's the case or not. I mean, we didn't see any of that really in the Republic or the
No, we haven't seen any of that
Mandalorian.
yet. Yeah.
So I think, ultimately I think, look, we know what we got, but I don't know. I think this would have been, hindsight. I think there could have been some different decisions made to really, prevent some of this before it went bad.
Yeah, if they had perceived there was the chance of another threat like this happening. I mean, that really is the ultimate problem, I think, is they didn't think something like that would happen again.
Yeah.
And I mean, as it leads up to Force Awakens, I mean, we see like the First Order has the planet killer. Like nobody was prepared for that at all. And I mean, the New Republic gets decimated. It ends up being down to one ship that the Empire's chasing, or the First Order's chasing across the galaxy. Like there wasn't much left for them to actually defeat. So.
And I'm still blown away on how they were able to completely terraform that planet into a weapon without anybody knowing.
Yeah. That's all. I know, that's crazy.
That is very impressive. Because that's the planet, if everybody, I mean, most people should know, but that's the planet Elam, which we've seen throughout history. I mean, it was one of the core places that the Jedi went for their crystals.
Yes.
And they just destroyed that planet and turned it into a super weapon, which ultimately was destroyed, which destroyed the entire planet. So
was that weapon, I mean, maybe they chose that planet for a reason. They used all the kyber crystals of the planet to power the weapon.
It's definitely possible, yeah. I mean, that's probably what made it an ideal candidate.
Yeah.
But somebody had to have seen something and said something like, hey, there's it's a lot of construction going on over here. It kind of looks like another Death Star. Maybe you should go look at it. That's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. But
I don't know. Ultimately, it's like, well, here's the last thing I'll say, and you tell me if you have a thought about this. But
yeah,
I mean, based on everything we're saying about what the New Republic could have done, maybe what Luke could have done, or maybe it's like, is it actually logical to think that it could have led to what we got in the sequel trilogy? Like, is it actually logical that that's something that could have happened to you? Because think about it, we didn't have any of these stories in between, right? When we got Episode 7.
right.
Episode 7 came out, and we didn't even, I mean, we were told it was 30 years later. To me, when I hear 30 years later, I'm thinking, okay, there's a Jedi Order again. There's Luke's leading some people. Leia's probably the Chancellor. Han's a general in the Navy. It's like the New Republic is in a good spot. It's in a strong spot. And then maybe, there's a new faction coming in trying to challenge them. That's where you naturally go, I think, when you saw the end of Return of the Jedi.
Right.
It's nothing like that. And is that, I don't know. Now it's funny because now I'm starting to think like, I don't even know if that makes sense anymore.
How did it get to that position? Yeah. How did it get so bad? Like,
yeah, they did. They spent, I mean, it's like 4 years from A New Hope to Return of the Jedi to to be able to erase, the last 19 years of Imperial rule. It's like you had 30 years or so. Well, let's say you had 20 years to build up the Republic and the Jedi and the Navy to prevent anything from happening like that again. But you couldn't. I mean, is that actually realistic?
Well, I guess it goes back to how we began the conversation. Like, something obviously prevented them from taking full control and rebuilding and being the leaders that the galaxy needed at that time. Whether it was their complacency or they didn't have the people, the power, the money, like, I mean, something did prevent them from being able to protect against it happening again. And who knows what it was.
Was it Palpatine?
Yeah, but where the heck was he? Where's the...
He wasn't even...
That
he
planet's
wasn't
in
even
the
fully
outer rim.
regenerated.
Yeah.
He wasn't even fully regenerated.
Exactly. So it couldn't have been him. That's why I brought up the points of maybe people just didn't trust them anymore. Maybe they couldn't get the funding. Maybe they couldn't get the resources. Maybe they were just so complacent. They're like, we won. That's good.
Yeah.
Everybody take care of themselves for a while.
Yeah.
And then, as the years go by, you get more complacent and stuck in that rhythm, that routine of, everything's been fine. Like, nothing's shown up in 20 years, so what are we worried about?
Right.
10 more years pass, now we're in trouble. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It is interesting to see, and it is interesting if we'll get those things filled in, because there is a lot of, like I said, there's a huge time gap there, and they are filling, and Star Wars loves filling in their gaps, and that's what they're starting to do.
Yep.
With Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka. We're starting to get all of that information.
And they're actually doing it in the comics again, too. I just haven't gotten to it yet, but there is a comic series, Star Wars comic series that takes place after Return of the Jedi, so...
Okay.
I haven't heard too many of the stories yet, but I'm gonna get there. I'm finishing between Empire and Jedi right now, and I'm gonna get to it.
Right.
Because I am curious to see, especially on the New Republic side, the rebuild, like what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
But the complacency that you're saying is actually a pretty good answer, I think. I think that's fair to say. That I think they just thought everything would work out, and they just kind of slowly get back to what they had, and nothing was going to stop them, kind of thing,
Yep.
Little did they know. Yeah.
They got learned real harsh.
Yeah, they did. All right, so yeah, just a little bit of discussion focused around the Mandalorian and Grogu coming out here in a couple months. I think we'll definitely have more topics to talk about for that. And then the next few topics I'll scrounge up Martin, as I want to talk about the next thing we're going to be getting, which is Maul Shadow Lord.
Oh yeah.
And we've got some stuff that we can talk about there with Crimson Dawn and the underworld that he's going to be going after,
right,
and where he is, and what motivates him to keep doing what he's doing.
Yep.
So we will talk more about that kind of stuff here upcoming. So in the meantime, go check out the Mandalore podcast. We're going to be coming back as well when the new series starts April 6th.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think we decided we're going to do every week, even though we're getting 2 episodes a week. We're going to do 1 episode a week.
Yeah, we want to stretch it out a bit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's over way too fast. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Plus, that would be probably a 5-6 hour show.
Knowing us. Yep.
So we'll do that.
Yep.
Martin's going to join me on some Inside the Force here coming up, and we're going to talk more council sessions.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Martin, for being here.
Yeah, man. Of course.
Take care, everybody. Go check out our YouTube channel for more council sessions and all our other shows on there. We'll see you next time. May the Force be with you.